Hello, everybody. Today is Wednesday, June the 10th. It is 7:58 p.m. If you are watching the replay, you can skip ahead about 5 minutes. I don't really get into the meat and taters of the live stream until we got a few people in here. They start asking questions. I start answering questions. We start chatting back and forth. And that is that. So I'm glad you're here. As you join in, tell me who you are, where you're from, what you're doing, all that good stuff. Let's see. I'm trying to figure out if this is a scam or not. I've got somebody telling me that they want me to test out an item. So I gave them my P.O. box and they said, well, we don't use the postal service. So I need to try and figure out if this is a scam or not. Jeff, what's going on, man? Howdy, howdy. Glad you're here. I need to figure out if it's a scam or not. But I don't know how because it came through email. And, I verified the email address and that all looked good, but I don't know. Chris from Indiana. Rusty Bus. Glad you're here. Jeff, just went through a good storm. I think our storms it's been windy today. Let me see. When are our storms coming? I think Tuesday. No, we're supposed to have a good one Friday. Supposed to have a good one Saturday. That stinks because Saturday's our poultry swap. Let me take a look see if our hourly forecast doesn't go into Saturday yet. It goes to 7 o'clock Friday night. Let's see. Saturday it looks like nighttime storm. So it looks like we'll be all right for Saturday. All right. Let's see. John, what's going on, sir? Good to see you. Nicole, hello. Watching from the hospital. Well, I think the swap is gonna get it on the night. I think it's gonna be nighttime. I'm feeling good. Like I've still got the incision sites earlier. I woke up early today, hit the ground running. I ran from like 7 until about 1 o'clock, 7:30 until maybe 1:30. And after that, I was done. I laid down, watched TV, took a nap, got up at 6 o'clock. I had some stuff to take care of outside. So went and took care of that. And then I always shower before my live streams. That way y'all can't smell me. So Doug, hello. Christina, hello. So yeah, it was I had a lot more energy today than I've had, over the past several days. So that's kind of that was nice. I tried not to overdo it this morning, but I did. I didn't do anything physical, like I'm still not lifting and stuff. I have a lot of birds. Derek, howdy. Bill, hello. Hey, there's a little surprise for you in your package, Bill, just so you know. James, hello. Anyway, I forgot what I was saying. I still am not doing anything physical. Sean, what's going on? Heart of Dixie Homestead. I've got birds that need to be moved, and like I can reach in the cage and I can kind of weigh them and all of that. The problem is like to move them, I've got to put them all in the cage and then I've got to carry them, or I'd have to do it one at a time. Well, one at a time clearly is the least efficient way to do it. It's easier to weigh them, put them in a cage, put in cage, and then move 20 at once. but I can't lift that much weight right now. So being on the lifting restrictions is where, I have the issues. Hello, Mary. Well, I'm glad you're here for the live stream, dear. Welcome, welcome. Um, so I've got Caleb's coming over tomorrow. He's going to do feed, water, and poop trays in the morning. And hopefully, while he's doing that, I'll be out there. I'll be able to weigh the birds. And then I'll have Caleb here and he can, move them around for me where I need them to go and everything. So that's the hope. But you know what? I loaned out my cages to my buddy the other day. I don't know if he's brought those back or not. Maybe I'll have to take a look around and see if he brought my cages back. Uh, Sold off a bunch of roosters because I didn't want to have to, keep up with feeding them. I had a bunch of roosters that I was trying to sell as butcher birds or that I was going to process out. But surgery came around before I could get rid of those birds. So I sold 60 birds to my buddy, let him take 2 of my cages. So I don't know. I don't know if the cages have made their way back or not. So anyway, it is 8:04 p.m. I don't have a topic tonight, but I am going to tell you a story. So this is going to be a conversation guided mostly by y'all. Kane Family Homestead. Hello, Emily. Hello. Thank you. You're currently in the hospital. Your little boy again, but he's sleeping. So yeah, I saw he had some blood sugar issues. That can certainly be scary. I mean, especially like if someone's not a diabetic and you're not used to having to monitor blood sugars and stuff. It's low blood sugar can be a pretty wild presentation. So, yep, praying for Eli. Tell him I wish him the best, and we'll lift up some prayers for him too. And that's a scary thing. I see that a lot in my line of work. So there is an announcement tonight. So for those of you who see like the green text in the chat box, those are members on YouTube. You can either become a member on YouTube or a subscriber on Facebook, or both, and you can get entered to win into a monthly contest that we have. And the monthly contest is a product from Winola Ranch. So last month it was a poultry transport cage. The month before it was for what they call their travel feeders. It's a large feeder, holds a lot of food. We've given away some quail cages in the past, things like that. This month we are going to be giving away a 3-pack of water troughs. They are the long red water troughs. They have a float in them to make sure the appropriate amount of water gets in and that it refills automatically. You just have to affix a tube. So it's basically water troughs for a gravity feed system. Those retail on their website for $25 a piece. So we are going to be giving away a 3-pack of the Winola Ranch water troughs. Now, you do have to be a member on YouTube or a subscriber on Facebook. And the way that works is if you're both, you get entered twice, by the way. And the way that works is at the end of the month, I'll do a drawing, and whoever wins, we mail out the product to them. Just that easy. So if you're not a member on YouTube, if you're not a subscriber on Facebook, please consider becoming a member. It does help support the channel, helps feed the birds, helps take care of my girls, helps keep them in rodeo. I am a full-time paramedic, so I do work 48 hours a week on the ambulance, and then I am farming full-time as well. I do not pay myself off of the farm. So I'm not rich because obviously I still have to work full time. And, the farm basically um, is self sustaining, but that's my retirement. I call it retirement. I work more on the farm than I do on the ambulance. But the farm is how I intend to get off of the ambulance so that I can be home with my girls all the time. For those of you who don't know, my wife passed away last August after a 2-year battle with breast cancer that metastasized to her brain. So now I've got 3 little girls to take care of, and I want to be home so that I don't have to miss band concerts. I don't have to miss football games. I don't have to miss soccer games. I don't have to miss FFA events, things like that. Unfortunately, as a paramedic, it's 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. And sometimes I miss stuff. And so in the past, when, there was a natural disaster and I had to go to work, it was no big deal because my wife was home. Now, if there's, a tornado or a natural disaster or flood or whatever, and I've got to go to work, kind of a big deal because nobody's here to take care of my kids. So anyway, if you would consider becoming a subscriber or a member, all of the content that I put out for the most part is free. Members do get sneak previews on several of my videos. I do that from time to time. You're entered into the contest. You get the neat little name badges when you comment. Everyone can see that you're a member, so it's kind of a cool thing, and I appreciate it. It helps. It really helps. So that's the announcement. Let me go back up because I've seen. You're unsure of what's going on. How am I feeling? Pretty good. Pretty good. Today's been good. I got up. I worked a little bit too much. And it wasn't like anything hard. But I did. I was up and I ran like 6 hours straight, and then I was tired and I had to take a nap. So, um, you know, I don't like getting worn out like that. Um, let's see. Emily left you a question on your website. Okay. Thankful for the paramedics and doctors who took care of your baby today. Good. I'm glad they were there for you. Sometimes something was missing from your Wynola Ranch order and they shipped it the next day. Very good company. Yep. Yep. They have been busy, backed up this year. Um, lots of orders, lots and lots of orders. And it's a small family run company. There's 3 kids that run it, that operate it. For the most part, the dad is involved, but he's a little bit older. I mean, you know, late 60s, early 70s, maybe. Um, the oldest son has been going out and doing a lot of machine training, metal fabrication, welding, mold injectors, things like that, learning a lot of the equipment. So the 2 in charge are 16 and 18. And so they go to school from 7 to 3 and then run the business from 4 to midnight. And so it's been super hectic. They've had a lot of growth this year. They also relocated in the past year. They moved from California to Oklahoma, so they have been just unbelievably busy. Um, let's see. Yeah, it is a good giveaway. It is a good giveaway. It's the retail value on that giveaway is $75. It's cheap to become a member or a subscriber. So, uh, in my opinion, it's worth it. Like I said, all of my content, is free. The subscriptions are just if you want to. Certainly don't have to. Oh, I wish I would have put on how's my audio tonight, y'all? Um, I should have put on my microphone. I wore that the last time, and y'all said that the audio was great. So, let's see. You try to get orders out ASAP. It does take a little bit to pack up the boxes for cages, but you try to be reasonable. You know what? The shipping process, Emily, I think is something that a lot of people don't understand. Like, I ship anywhere from 5 to 10 orders a day when I ship, and to package 10 orders can take up to like 4 or 5 hours, just going through the eggs, making sure the eggs are right, punching the holes out of the foam, putting the egg in foam, building the boxes, putting the foam pads in, putting the eggs in, foam pad, eggs, foam pad. Um, it can take several hours just to pack, a few orders. I would say that it takes on average probably 15 to 20 minutes per order. So, if you think about it that way, it's 3 orders an hour. And that's without interruptions, right? So, if the phone rings and you've got to take a phone call, or you've got to go somewhere, or you've got to get food, or you got to do something with the kids, or whatever the case is, audio's good. Good, good, good. Um, you know, it's pretty crazy getting everything shipped out. And then just like the logistics of it, like with shipping eggs in particular. Um, Last year I was trying to use USPS exclusively, and um, it didn't work. Like, I would ship orders on a Thursday and they would send them back to me. And so then the girl that works at the post office would peel off the hatching egg stickers and reship them, because they would be like, "Oh, we only process lives on during the week." And we tried to explain to them, "Hey, these aren't lives. It's like you don't have live chickens or live bees or live quail. Like, they're not alive. Um, they can sit in your lives department over Saturday and Sunday. If they ship on Friday, they can sit there Saturday and Sunday, but they need to be back on the road Monday morning." And they're like, "Nope, nope, we shut the door. We're not going to deal with this. We're not going to send them out." So the problem was, is even orders that I shipped on Thursday that should have gone through the lives department on Friday and been on the road Saturday, those were getting sent back. Well, I can take eggs to work on Monday when I go to work. Then I can't ship on Wednesday because I get home after the mail is already picked up. Then Thursday I can't use UPS or USPS because they were sending the eggs back to me. So because USPS got so difficult to use, I started using UPS, and UPS actually has done a really, really good job for me this year. Um, I went to ship an order today somewhere. It was somewhere in Oklahoma, so it wasn't far. UPS was going to be able to deliver it tomorrow. Get down, cat. UPS was going to be able to deliver it tomorrow, and USPS was going to deliver it 3 days from now. Whatever system USPS has in place is ridiculous, because if I was going to mail something to the next town over, the next town over is Panama. It's 7 miles from my house. If I took something to the post office in Bokoshe, it would go all the way to Tulsa, then it would go to Oklahoma City, then it would go back to Tulsa, then it would go to Panama for something legitimately like 7 miles down the road. So anytime I ship eggs, they're going from Bokoshe to Tulsa to Oklahoma City and then out to whatever their destination is. So UPS is like, we'll just take this and set it on the front door. So it's a whole lot easier to use UPS, but figuring out those logistics, it can be challenging. And then there's times where it's 9, and there's times when USP $30 to ship and UPS is like 7. A lot of it just depends, but it can be difficult. Let's see. Let me scroll back. Doug, good evening from Kentwood, Louisiana. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you watching. All right. Any idea why they're usually 70 and high instead of 72, which would be the whole length of the board? Just wondering. Let's see. I don't know, Mary, if that was for me or if that was for Emily. Any idea why they're 70 inches high instead of the 72, which would be the whole length of the board? If that question is for me, the answer is I don't know. Emily, what company are you? She is Five Little Quail Homestead, and she is fantastic. You're a little girl. These cages are bigger than you. Yeah, they're well. I mean, the 6 tier Winola Ranch, when it's on casters, it's taller than me. I have a step ladder. I'm 6 foot tall, and I have a step ladder that I use to add water into them. Loud and clear, all the way up to Alberta. Dawn White, these lives are a killer for you. Your alarm goes off at 4 a.m., so you're normally in bed by this time. Love you, though. You can always catch them right. Hey, Dawn, I actually watched that movie you suggested. There's a movie. It's kind of a feel-good movie. It's called Incredibly Bright Creatures. Dawn suggested that I watch it. It's on Netflix if you have Netflix. Dawn suggested I watched it if I had time to kill, which being laid up in bed, I had time to kill. And so I watched Incredibly Bright Creatures, and it was a great movie. Just found your channel, Northern Lightfoot. Made my first order from Winola Ranch, and it shipped the next day. That's incredible. Fantastic. Looking forward to the float valve shut off. Oh yeah. Yep. Those are nice. Those are very nice. You started making your own cages. Well, listen, if so, I'm glad you said that, Mary. I'm filming or finished filming a video today. It should come out on the 16th. Um, and I talked a little bit about the Winola Ranch cages, not about sizes or dimensions, but I actually did talk about building your own cage versus purchasing a cage, and so you might find it interesting. Um, if you're trying to make money with your quail eggs, either pickling quail or selling eggs or hatching chicks or whatever, um, you may get a little bit of insight on that. But yeah, in terms of the dimensions and the sizes and stuff like that, I don't have any idea. Whenever they've shipped something to me, I've basically just put it together. Um, yeah, I think I measured the first time they ever sent me a cage. Kind of to figure out how many birds I could put in there, but that was about it. Hello, Lisa. You have a 25-year-old little tyke footstool. Hey, if it works, it works. And if it holds you, it holds you. Catronics Corner has good indoor cage plans. Slightly Rednecked has good cage plans. Yeah, there's another guy, Dale's Quails, sells quail cages too. And I don't know Dale. I've never seen his cages. Never tried them. But I know that he's one that's widely recommended in the community. So, Smith's Tomb. Yeah, I had a good day today. I got up and worked for about 6 hours straight. I can't lift anything. That's the problem. So like even tonight, I needed to feed, and I can't carry a feed bag. So I have a pallet of feed out in the barn, and I just kind of pulled it and slid it onto the ground and opened it. So I couldn't like dump it into the trash can or anything like that. But um, I was able to get something done, and feed my birds and all that. Went out back, checked on. Hello, Scott. What's going on, my friend? Scott was in the chat with me last night on Eddie Family Farm. Brandon's my buddy. In fact, I was texting with him just before we got on live stream tonight, so I'm going to call him when the live stream is over. Um, we're working together on a couple of different things, so he's a good dude. Yeah, man, I'm ready to see the girls. I miss them. You know, the thing is, the girls are like, "Are you going to miss me? Are you going to be lonely? Are you going to be this? Are you?" I miss my kids because they're my kids, but I'll be honest, I don't even realize they're gone until like I'm done for the day and I come inside and I'm like, man, it sure is quiet. Because I'm so busy during the day, always, um, just running around 100 miles an hour all day, every day, trying to make this business work. Um, it's crazy because I wake up and the more I accomplish during the day, the more I see that needs to be done. And there's you got to celebrate the small victories. Let me tell you guys this, and this is super super important for any small business owner. Celebrate everything, right? Celebrate the small victories. If you're pickling eggs and you sell your first jar, that's a big deal, right? Like all of that work, all of that time, all of that effort, you spent days, weeks, months building, and it results in a $10 sale. Great. That's awesome. That's the beginning. That's how it all starts. And then you make another $10 sale and then another $10 sale. But there's nothing more satisfying than your first customer that comes back and goes, "Hey, I had a 65% hatch rate. I had a 70% hatch rate. Man, you've got great birds. You've got great eggs." I love getting those text messages when people are happy with what I've sent them. It makes me super excited. You sell somebody a dozen eating eggs for, $4 and they're like, "Hey, those eggs were wonderful. Those tasted great. I really enjoyed those." I've had people message me and be like, "Your eggs were so good. I'm keeping the brine and I'm putting some of my own eggs back into the brine." Great. I love that. So celebrate the small victories, because that's what keeps it going. You know what I mean? Um, in the world of EMS, most of what we do is not all that exciting. It's just not. Um, most of what we do is haul old people around because they're too weak or too sick to get out of the house. You know, um, same thing. When Misty was sick, I had to call an ambulance a couple of times, not because I couldn't take care of her, but I couldn't get her out of the house. She wasn't able to walk. I only had my girls here. I didn't have a way. Even if I could have gotten her out of the house, I couldn't have gotten her into the car. So most of it is not all that super exciting. The multi-car pileups, the vehicle rollover with ejections, the train versus car, the drownings, the hangings, the cardiac arrest, that's rare. And even when you get those rare calls, most of the time you don't get them back. You know what I mean? Like people die. And when you do get somebody back, like that's the fire in your veins. That's what keeps you going for the next several, months as you just, tote old people around. Um, So you've got to celebrate the small victories in your business, and truly, truly make the most of it, because all of your labor, all of your efforts, it culminated into that first sale. You know, I have, if you've ever been into one of those restaurants where they staple dollar bills onto the wall, or they have the very first dollar ever spent on the wall, um, that's a big deal. It really, really is. So, um, I to answer your question, yes, I'm ready for the girls to be home. They actually have a rodeo this weekend. I don't know if I'm going to have the energy to go and stay the whole time, but I'm going to try. I'm totally going to try. I love the rodeos. I love watching my girls compete. So, but yeah, you're right. They're in and out all the time. You know what's funny though is so I'm not like y'all had the cool parents in town, right? Like the kids would all go over there, and the moms and dads would buy them alcohol, and they'd hang out and drink and all that. I'm first off, I don't do that. Like my kids don't drink. I don't drink. So I don't buy the kids alcohol. They're not allowed to smoke or anything like that. Like when you're at my house, you behave. You're also my kid. Those are the rules. We're going to be Christian all the time, not just on Sundays. So I'm not cool in like the wild party teenage parent sense that some of the kids' parents were when I was in school. Um, but when they come over here, they're allowed to have fun. If they want to ride the four wheeler, they can ride the four wheeler. If they want, well, not really, because I need to jump it off right now, but you get the picture. If they want to ride the horses, they can ride the horses. If they want to go to the dollar store and get snacks, they can go to the dollar store and get snacks. Like they're allowed to have fun. Sometimes I'll go and I'll be like, how many people are over? And I'll go and I'll order pizzas for all the kids and whatever the case is. And all of the girls' friends like hanging out at our house, and it drives my kids crazy because they're like, we get tired of being at home. We want to go somewhere. All of our friends like you. That's not fair. So, but when the kids come over here, uh, they're mine. I'm going to take care of everyone else's kids just like they're my kids. I'm going to make sure that they're safe. I'm going to make sure that they behave, and honestly, I make sure they work too. Um, I was out there last week. Well, no, not last week. Before the girls left, I had them down stacking a pallet of feed, and I told them, I said, "Get your friends, y'all go down stack that pallet of feed." And I walked out there, and there's one girl walking around, and she's holding her puppy. She's got a little puppy that comes with her everywhere, and I was like, "Hold up, put that dog down and grab those feed bags." She's like, "It'll run off." I'm like, "Put it in the bed of the truck. The dog's this big. It's not going to jump out. Put the dog in the bed of the truck and you sling feed bags." And there's another one not doing anything. I said, "You go grab that trash can, take it down to the road." So, I mean, I make them work. I'm like, "Hey, y'all want gas money? Get the poop trays done." I don't, I don't know, but they like hanging out here, and I like having them here. So maybe that's it. Let's see. Bill says, "I'm looking forward to lunch and dinner with your son." Heck yeah, that'll be fun, especially when they get in their 20s. That's when they're working hard and gone all the time. Getting to see them is difficult. Jessica, you put my eggs on lockdown. Your birthday is Saturday, so I may even have some birthday babies. Heck yeah. My birthday is this month. I will be turning 25 again on June 23rd. It's a true story. It will be the 21st anniversary of my 25th birthday. But still, 25. The hairline of a 46-year-old. Craig, hello. What's going on, buddy? Good to see you. Bill, you got a June birthday too? Man, there's a lot of June birthdays. How long do you boil your quail eggs for? So it really depends. Good question, Derek. It really depends on how many eggs you have in the pot. The more eggs you have in the pot, the longer you need to boil. If you're doing like 20 eggs, 6 minutes is fine. If you're doing like 100 eggs, maybe 8 minutes. If you're doing a lot of eggs, 10 minutes. So, it's something you got to play with a little bit. But I would say if you're just doing 20 eggs, if you're just going to do a pint of pickled eggs or whatever, 20 eggs, 6 minutes is probably fine. Let's see. Wild Nana Farm. I've even learned to celebrate your failures because you've learned from. Good point. Good point. Listen, if it wasn't for screwing up, I wouldn't learn anything, you know. Um, and I mean, I make mistakes still to this day. I screw up. I locked down eggs a week early the other day. Um, they hatched out. They did fine, but I screwed up. I made a mistake, and it is what it is. But I learned from it, and because I shared that on here, some people gave me ideas on what I could do to do a better job or to keep up with my hatches a little bit better. Let's see. Your air conditioner just went out. Ugh, that's no fun. I got one from Atwoods the other day, and I actually went, scanned the barcode, looked online to see if I could get it cheaper. I couldn't, and that's the one that I've got in the quail barn now. And let me tell you, it is a hoss. It's doing a good job keeping it nice and cool in there. Parents like you are safe, and a lot of children need that feeling. Well, you may absolutely be right. Um, when they're here, they're safe. I'm going to keep an eye on them, and if they're cutting up, I'm going to knock them out. Just kidding. I'm not going to knock them out, but they're not going to cut up here. I'm not going to put up with that. You can run, you can play, you can be loud, you can make noise, you can watch TV, you can eat popcorn, you can have snacks, you can eat pizza. You can eat, well, I got 10 acres here. You can run all over, um, but you're going to be safe. You're going to be protected, and that goes for anybody. Kids, random kid just shows up on the property. Random kid's going to be safe. That's how that works. Rusty Bud got a lockdown going tomorrow. Fantastic. Lisa's on June 26th. Heck yeah, another June birthday. Hello, here to support Rustic Prairie Game Birds. Howdy, howdy. Glad you're here. Thank you for the support. I appreciate it. You have 3 siblings with June birthdays on 2 dates. I love it. Graham, how's your Celadon line going? Getting better, buddy. Getting better. It's not something that I'm focusing on right now. Um, I'm growing it out. I'm hatching a lot of Celadons, um, but I don't have like a separate Celadon pen right now. I'm going to, but and I still need things to slow down just a little bit so that I can keep track of my Celadons. Right now, I'm still hatching so many eggs that like I can't keep just my Celadons separate. I could probably incubate 30 eggs, at one time, but I can't keep all 30 of those separate, just because I'm hatching out hundreds of birds at a time. My last hatch was over 200 birds. Um, I've got another hatch kind of happening right now. Um, I put some chicken eggs in, and this is the craziest thing. So I raided a nest. I found a nest out in the yard, and I thought, obviously, hey, these could have been sat on. These could have been incubated. It was chicken eggs. It was guinea eggs. It was a mixed lot. So there could have been a bird sitting on them. Wouldn't surprise me if those um, birds, you know, hatched a little bit early. But right now, like the eggs, I think they've been in the incubator a week, and I've got chickens hatching, like actively hatching. But here's the weird part: some of the ones hatching are my naked necks, and that's really odd because my naked necks are not out in the yard. So why are the naked neck eggs that I've been collecting and just like setting on the kitchen counter, which my air conditioner is running right now, it's 74 degrees in the house. Why are those eggs hatching? Like, I have no idea. Um, but I've got that hatch going on now, sort of. I've got a hatch of quail happening right now. I should end up with another ballpark 200 birds out of that. Um, and then I've got another hatch after that. And then I've got another batch of eggs that I'll be putting on lockdown in another week or so. So, um, right now it's kind of the Wild West in my chick room and in my brooders. So I've got to keep hatching, keep hatching, keep hatching. I have room right now. I can add another 300 breeders easy, and I definitely need to focus on that. And going into the fall, I need to focus on that. You raise Celadon Caternix quail. You're very interested in the cages. Hope I'm feeling better. Thank you. So the cages are Winola Ranch cages. Their website is quailcage.com. I love the 6-tier cage. Really, the bottom tier is mighty close to the floor. So I'm I might shift over to their 5-tier cage. Um, but the 6-tier cage holds 108 birds, which is great. So that works. That works for me. Um, Emily, the eggs that you shipped to me arrived great. Yep, they were intact. I think I think there was maybe one that was cracked, um, but no big deal. B&F Quail Farm shipped me some eggs about the same time. Their box actually kind of got accordioned. So there were several in there that were cracked, like 6 out of 30 or something like that. But you could tell that it was like a conveyor belt or something along those lines. Um, just happens. Hope you're doing okay. Yep, I'm improving. I'm improving. I'm getting better. I don't know. I mean, I'm not even a week out from surgery yet. Friday's going to be a week. So, like, how I'm going to do a 20-pound weight limit restriction for the next 5 weeks is beyond me, because I'm feeling okay. So, I've just got to be very careful, you know, which also is not in my nature. Let's see. You've had this one for years. It's been very good to you. Good. Let's see. We're in good hands at the Children's Hospital. Elijah's sleeping and being monitored closely. Fantastic. I feel you. I had back surgery a couple of years back, 3 fused together. You feel so helpless you can't even do your own chores. Then eventually you start carrying a calf bed. Yeah, that's the kind of the crazy thing, Mary, is I had my friend Carrie over here helping me the other day, and I didn't realize how much I do throughout the day until I started telling her, "Hey, I need you to do this and this and this and this and this." And then I started to feel bad because I'm like, "Dang, that's a lot," you know. And nobody ever does anything the way that you do it. You know what I mean? Like, you've got your own method, you've got your own ways, you've got your own whatever. Um, but nobody does it the way that you do. And there's a lot of things that you just keep in your mind. You've got a lot of whatever routines or habits or patterns, or you've got birds in here and over here and over here and over here, and you know exactly where they are and what they're for and why they're there. Nobody else does. So that's pretty crazy when you're trying to explain it to other people and you're sitting there going, this makes I'm trying to explain how I do stuff, and this makes absolutely no sense when it comes out of my mouth. Sounds good in my head, not when it comes out. Let's see. Yeah, shipping can be hard on the eggs. Sometimes, um, sometimes there's just nothing you can do about it. Like, no matter how good you pack the eggs, if a box gets, accordioned on the conveyor belt, it gets accordioned on the conveyor belt. There have been a handful of times where someone's had a bad hatch, and like you can't figure out why. Their temperatures were good, their humidities were good. They've got a good incubator. They've got a secondary hygrometer. They let them rest for 24 hours. Like, the eggs were 5 days old when they put them in the incubator, and you just can't figure it out. And sometimes the only thing, oh, heck yeah, Northern Lightfoot just joined as a member. Fantastic. Thank you. Um, Sometimes you just can't figure out why. And the only reason you can come up with is shipping. Something went wrong with shipping. Now, that being said, last year, if I had a package that went through Memphis or Kansas City, didn't matter which one, it got held up. 100% of the time, it was getting held up, which I ship a lot to Missouri and I ship a lot to Kansas, and I ship a decent amount to Tennessee, but even still, there are things that get routed through Memphis to go elsewhere. And so I had one order sat in Kansas City for like 12 days. Like it was almost like they'd set the order. In fact, it was three orders. It was almost like they set these three boxes in the corner and they're like, we'll get to those next week. 12 days. And remarkably, we ended up still having a good hatch. So I was pretty excited about that. Let's see. Northern Lightfoot. I added 5 inches to the bottom of the Caternix corner cage design to get them off the floor a little bit more. Yeah, the older I get, the further the floor seems. That's a fact. Let's see. It happens. I had 2 boxes that were double boxed from Guidraws, and they were not okay. Well, and Aaron does a good job packing anyway, right? Um, I've ordered from Aaron several times, and never had an issue at all. I mean, one or two here or there that were cracked, but I've never had one. But I mean, I've had some boxes that were absolutely demolished. I had I don't remember. I think it was USPS one time that delivered a box that was wet and leaking on the bottom. They had destroyed it so bad that every egg inside was busted, and it was wet and leaking. And I'm like, why'd y'all deliver that? Like that shouldn't have even been like the fact that the liquid is coming out the bottom. That should be a clue, but they do. Rustic Prairie, gotta go. Nice to see you. Thank you for the prayers. Come back anytime. Wild Nana, do you think there will be a time where you will be able to sell the cages on your website? I don't know. I have loosely mentioned it to Winola Ranch. I actually have their website linked to my website, so you can find their website from my website. But I've mentioned maybe doing like an affiliate link or something like that, to keep track of the people that are ordering because they've talked to me or seen my setup or whatever the case is. But this spring has been so incredibly busy, and they've tried hiring people. They just can't get anybody to work, and that's not unusual. I know Brandon over on Eddie Family Farm. It took him a long time to find somebody who was able to do the things around the farm that he needed. I've got a guy, Caleb, that comes over here, works very hard, does a great job. But I can't afford to pay somebody full time to work over here. I've got Carrie that comes over and helps me out, and she does a great job. She's over a lot and helps me, especially not just on the farm, but she tried to help me get a garden going this year, and she's helped me pickle the eggs and make a lot of the products that are not quail egg related, but are more like for the farm stand and stuff like that. And just keeping up with me and Carrie and Caleb, and then the kids helping me out. It's just it's wild. It's absolutely wild at how busy you can be. But at the same time, I'm still trying to generate a profit. Um, this year is, if I'm profitable, it's not going to be much. I may end up in the red this year. I bought 4 of the Winola Ranch quail cages. I built the barn. I had the barn wired for electricity. I had insulation put in the barn. Um, I need to buy at least 2 more quail cages this year, if not more. So it's touch and go, but it's getting on toward, it's getting, later in the season. And so I need to start looking at finances for the fall too, because I know how much money I need per bird for feed over the winter months. And during the course of the winter months, the sales just, the bottom totally falls out, totally falls out. So listen, y'all need to order eggs in the fall. It's the best time to hatch. And honestly, I'm going to do a video on why hatching in the fall is the best time to hatch. But just trust me on that one. It is. Nobody wants to have to feed over the winter and stuff like that when sales are down and everything. But I know I had a lot of people. Bill, I don't remember when did you place your order? Bill placed a large order, but not like crazy large. It was like 126 eggs or something. And it took me, it was beginning of May, maybe May 2nd. And it took me 5.5, 6 weeks to get his package mailed out. Like, I don't like being delayed that much, but I was shipping 1,500 eggs a week and couldn't keep up. Just totally could not keep up. April 21st. Okay, so you ordered 8 weeks ago. Um, Luckily, Bill's stays on the live streams and then the Facebook groups and stuff like that, so he kind of is aware of what shipping is and all of that. But I don't like being that backed up at all. It really, 2 weeks lead time is where I want to be. But the orders fall off so heavily in the fall that, I mean, I would be just overrun with eggs in the fall if I had so many birds. So trying to find that balance can be difficult too. Northern Lightfoot joined the Quail Pro membership on YouTube. That is incredible. Thank you very, very much. I appreciate that. You will be entered into the Winola Ranch giveaway at the end of this month. So that is awesome. And I've been doing some members only stuff, videos that have been coming out. So members are getting to see things a few days ahead of time. Like today, I recorded a video. It's going to come out on the 16th. So typically it's about a week. I'm about a week ahead on videos. Which is good because when you have things like surgery, it helps to kind of stay up on that. Finding the floor is easy. Getting back up is the hard part. Yeah, for real. How long can you collect eggs to set? Cages I built has dividers, rollouts, and let's see. Cages I built has dividers for rollouts to expand a color. Okay, I got you. So quail eggs are viable, very viable, up to 14 days. So they're most viable at 7 days or less. Between 7 and 14 days, you lose about 5 to 10%. But if you're collecting your own eggs and you're putting them on the counter and things like that, then sorry, my mom texted me and threw me off. If you're collecting your own eggs and keeping them inside and keeping them climate controlled, you can incubate them really up to about 14 days. After 14 days, the hatchability really drops off. I do know people that have, incubated eggs up to 30 days old. So, but personally, I would do 2 weeks or less. Let's see. The growth of the flock here has been intense, getting 200 eggs a week now. Nothing like me, but steady growing. Hey, 200 eggs a week is nothing to shake a stick at. I mean, that's great. That's really, really good. And I remember the first time that I got 20 eggs in a day and how excited I was. Um, it's fantastic. I've had a real drop in egg production recently. Talked to Bill about that a little bit earlier. I've had a real drop in egg production because we were like high 70s, low 80s for several weeks. Then we had a big batch of storms come through, and then it was like 95 degrees. So I'm doing something this year that I've never done before, which is I'm adding electrolytes to the water. I don't know if um, that's going to make a difference or not. I'm kind of thinking that the weather may have thrown them off, the heat may have thrown them off, but last week I noticed just a crazy amount of feathers. Hang on, I'm going to voice text my mother. I just forwarded the itinerary to you. Period. It came through in my email. We're coordinating and getting the kids home. Anyway, I noticed a lot more feathers in the manure trays last week. So I'm thinking that they may have started a molt because my egg production dropped 40%. Um, so, but 200 eggs a week is absolutely fantastic. Like I said, I remember the first time I got 20. I remember the first time I got 50. Like I was counting like 60. The first time I hit 60 was, whoa, that was great, and started pickling the eggs and started making real money. And I mean, that's great. Wife says I can't multitask. So here I am on a 10-foot ladder installing cameras outside while watching this stream. Brother, just be sure you stay on the ladder. That's the important part. Just stay on the ladder. If you hear something groundbreaking, don't throw your head up and fall off the ladder. Great idea. That'd be terrible. I'm on light duty, so I wouldn't be any help to you. These were so badly wrecked that they threw Ghidra's boxes into these other massive boxes as a safety measure. So I used to here's let me tell you guys this. Speaking of, you hope he wins his dispute. So I had a situation. I talked a little bit earlier about that box that just got completely wrecked, like that they delivered with wet eggs or leaking eggs. I filed a dispute on that and sent them in pictures, and they declined it because I could not bring the eggs into the local post office and show it to my clerk. And first off, how you expect me to take eggs into my clerk when I shipped them to Missouri? You know what I mean? So that was dumb. That also, this was another reason I stopped using USPS as often as I did. What I found was the first one or two complaints that I filed with USPS, I did good. They just wrote me a check, like no big deal. The first one or two, like the next two or three, denied. I appealed all of the denials, denied. So now what I do is I have the customer file the claim. That way, if they say bring the box in, the customer can take the box in. If they win the appeal, then they can just place another order and I'll reship the eggs. That way they're not out any money. And I'm not out any money. If the Postal Service or US or UPS or whatever denies the claim, I lost an appeal, a month ago on an order of 108 eggs. I had used UPS Ground Advantage. Well, the way UPS Ground Advantage works is USPS takes the package, then sells the transport to UPS, and UPS finishes the delivery. Well, or vice versa. UPS takes the package, sells it to USPS, and USPS finishes the delivery. One way or the other. Either way, um, USPS says that that we needed to file the claim with UPS, and UPS said we needed to file the claim with USPS, and neither one of them would take responsibility, even though USPS said that the box was damaged when they got it. So the it was USPS that finished the delivery. So, anyways, um, it it ended up being a mess. We lost the appeal. I reshipped the eggs anyway because it wasn't my customer's fault. You but we always try to file an appeal first or file a claim first. Um, let's see. You're still planning on ordering eggs this fall? Heck yeah. Fall hatching is the best. Let's see. Do you think with quail being so prolific that you'll eventually get to a place where most people are hatching their own? No, I don't. And there's a couple of reasons for that. Quail are very prolific. That is true. Um, but most people enjoy hatching and they enjoy it for fun. But most people aren't interested in doing a business, right? Most people, I think, they want a handful of quail um, for themselves, for meat, for eggs, for pickled eggs. Some people certainly, on a small scale, want to farm and provide for the community and things like that. When it gets big, and I still wouldn't call myself one of the big guys. I'm well known in the quail community, but I wouldn't consider myself to be one of the biggest breeders in the quail community. I don't think that I am. But when you get as big as I am, I have about 1,500 birds right now. It's a lot. It's a lot of work. And as much as some people may want to pursue, the quail business, if you're working a Monday through Friday type of job, or even if you're a stay-at-home mom and you've got kids and appointments and school stuff and things like that, it's so much work. It's an incredible amount of work. And Emily will tell you. I saw her setup. She shared a picture the other day, and I don't remember what it was, 5 or 6 cages. And you look at that and you think, that's easy. It's a lot of birds in them 5 or 6 cages, and the poop trays have to be done every other day, and you've got to sweep, and you've got to mop, and you've got to clean, and the mortality rate on quail is just incredibly high. I mean, quail. I've never seen an animal in my entire life more excited to meet Jesus than a quail. Um, they just die. Like, it's the weirdest thing. You'll go out there, everybody's fine. You'll walk out the next day, and 5 of them are just dead, and you're like, why? Why did you were fine yesterday? No scalping them, no nothing. I mean, I've seen them. I've seen them hang themselves in the cages. I've seen them, with their heads, stuck through the feeders, and and it's like, why are you just dying? So they are prolific, and they do reproduce quicker. But I know a lot of people that, like, in the fall, they really trim down their flocks. Um, and then you've got people who just want to add new blood. Once a year, they want to add new blood. So I think the hatching part is fun. But I think because of just a high mortality rate on adult quail. And I think because of people being more of a, hobby farmers as opposed to, full-time homesteaders, and people just wanting to pare down, in the fall, reduce their farm expenses. I don't foresee, you know, people ever, really hatching so much that like it stops me from being in business. You know, um, some people may. I mean, I know I've helped some people get a business started, and they don't need eggs from me right now. But in a year or two, they may. Um, even for as big as I am and as many birds as I have, I've gotten eggs from Emily. You know, I've gotten eggs from Pigment and Plume Farms. I've gotten eggs from uh, Draws. Last year, I had a guy in Texas that was like a constant supply for me. Um, my Shire had a sell on jumbo whites earlier this year, and I jumped on that. So, you know, even with as many birds as I have, I still buy hatching eggs. So I don't really worry about that too much. Um, and the thing is, no matter what, like I'll tell you guys exactly what I do and exactly how I do it, and the equipment that I use and the temperatures that I use and the humidity and yada yada yada. And I'm not worried about anybody being able to outdo me, just because nobody will ever be able to do what I do the way I do it, how I do it. Just like I'll never be able to do what you do the way you do it and how you do it, right? We all have our own methods. We all have our own systems. All have our own, infrastructure and things like that. So everybody does things just a little bit different. Certainly, a lot of things we do the same, but it depends on it depends on what people's goals are, and I think everybody has enough different goals that there's plenty you know the chicken egg industry is thriving so much, even at a commercial level, even though you can most people can keep three chickens in their backyard. Just most people don't you know so I'm not too worried about that. Let's see. UPS told me which street they made your delivery to and to go look for it yourself. Ridiculous. Dave told me UPS delivered it somewhere, so not my problem. Yeah, that's wild. Like I know loosely that there was an issue, and UPS was being difficult. They yearn for the urn. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. You have a little over 2,000 different ages, and let me tell you, it is a lot. Yeah, I mean, it is. It's a ton. And of course, when you have 2,000 birds, that's all different ages too, right? So you've got some day olds, you've got some week olds, some 2 week olds, some 3 week olds, some adults, some of this color, some of that color, and you've got to be able to keep all that situated out. And that's very difficult, very time consuming. Mark, am I getting caught up on shipping? Yeah, I think I'm down. I think I've got 28 pending orders right now, 30 pending orders, somewhere in the neighborhood. Um, but the birds have slowed on their laying, so I think it's a molt. I'm not 100%. There was a lot of feathers in the cages last week, so I think the change in weather caused a molt to occur. So we'll see. Someday I'd like to order some white and Egyptian. Yeah, man, the white and Egyptian are great. They're big. My birds are big. Um, they're good egg layers. The Egyptian are certainly better egg layers than the whites. Um, but the whites are they're a pretty bird. They're a big pretty bird. Yeah, no, they're not smart at all. They are not smart at all. They live to die. Let's see. Can you explain my method recipe of boiling eggs? Number of eggs, add to boiling water, number of minutes, stirring, bath after, before pickling, hot brine in the jar. That's all right. Good question. So when I pickle eggs, I bring the water to a boil first. Then I put the eggs in. I usually do large batches of eggs, like two, three, 400 at a time. So that, because I'm putting room temperature eggs into boiling water, that drops the temperature on the water again. So then you have to stir the eggs to keep the yolk from settling on the side. You want to keep the yolk in the middle. There's not a whole lot of white in a quail egg, so if that yolk settles on the side, when you peel them, you'll end up peeling, through to the yolk. So you want to kind of stir them every few minutes until that water gets back up to boiling. And then in terms of, how long, again, if you're doing 20 eggs, it may only take 6 minutes. If you're doing 200 eggs, you may want to boil them for 10. Um, so then I take them out, I ice bath them for at least 5 minutes. If the water is hot after the ice is melted, I'll add more ice to it and do it another 5 minutes. Then I use an egg peeler. So I'll take that pot full of eggs and shake it until the eggs have a bunch of hairline cracks in it. Then I'll put water in it. I'll let it set for another 5-10 minutes. And then I'll start running them through the egg peeler. While I'm doing that, I boil my brine. My brine is 3 cups of vinegar, a third cup of sugar, and a tablespoon of pickling salt. And so I'll bring it all back up to a boil. Um, as soon as the brine starts boiling, I turn it off. Once the eggs are peeled, I put it in a colander. I rinse them. I put 20 in a pint, 40 in a quart, add my seasonings, add my brine, and then I vacuum seal them. And that is the entire process. Emily, yeah, heck yeah. Well, I appreciate you too, for sure. This is a lot of fun and it's a lot of hard work. And anytime you get the opportunity to share with others, you should. Um, there's a lot to learn. You can never learn enough. Like I said, I'm trying something new right now, electrolytes, to help my girls through a molt, to help them through the change of temperature. It's supposed to help hydrate the birds. I don't know if this is going to work or not. I've seen people talk about it, but it's going to be a learning experience for me, and then I can share that information with others. So that's what I hope to do. Let's see. Yep, and we definitely have different things to offer. And that's like for me, Emily. Um, there's a lot of people interested in colors. You got started in Celadon's way before I did, and that's great because you're able to sell me or ship me, sell me Celadon eggs. You've got colors that I don't have, so as I grow out and I expand, I can order off of you. Mine is a meat and eggs market down here, so I focus primarily on jumbo birds, um, and I focus on producing a high quality jumbo bird with a great hatch rate. So that's my primary focus. But as I choose to expand, I can order from you, or as you choose to incorporate new blood into your lines, you can incorporate from me or Aaron or whoever. And Jillian over at Pigment and Plumes, she also has Celadon. So if you needed to incorporate new blood, you can order from her. In fact, I don't think y'all are too far apart. Um, she's in Portland, so I mean, you guys are relatively close anyway. Closer than I am to either one of you guys. But we can all play off of each other and work together. And you know, I'm in competition with no one but myself. Like, I want to make me better. I want to be better. I want to do good. I want to do well. I want to make this profitable, and I want to be able to retire from EMS so that I can stay home and take care of my kids. Like, there's no other competition out there other than me. I am my own competition. So working together is, it's synergistic. It's not just two people do double the work of one person. There's an exponential effect when two people work together. You don't grow twice as fast, you'll grow four times as fast. You know, working with others and sharing information and learning from other people. So, um, you know, it just works. That's all there is to it. Yours are molting and looking all kinds of crazy. Yeah, they do get all wild looking, don't they? In 2 weeks, you should have a new batch of whites and Egyptians. And you should have whites, Egyptians, and surprises. I wrote a note too. I put a note in there, so don't just throw the paper in the trash, Bill. Um, need you to take a look at that. Um, can't wait to set your own eggs. It's so much fun when you're able to set your own eggs. There's really nothing like it. Yeah, I didn't think she was far from you, but like I know you're Washington and she's Oregon, but I didn't know exactly how far Portland was from where you are. So, but I knew y'all were close. Any ideas? Half of your eggs are cracked every day. You have a Winola Ranch set up. They roll down fine, just cracked. Do the hens need something for stronger shells? So the first thing I would look at is the calcium in your feed. You want to have somewhere between 2.5% and 4% calcium. You don't want more than 4% calcium. Um, you could do some things like when you pickle eggs, for example, you can dry out the eggshells in the oven, crush them, and put them back in the feed to add calcium. You can put oyster shell in their feed to add calcium. But I would check the calcium on your feed first. Um, you can get like oyster shell powder type of supplement. Um, but yeah, good. That also good question there, Bill. So when I check mine, I roll the eggs by my ear, and I would say like 10% have like a hairline crack. So I'll roll them by my ear and listen for cracks, which has resulted in egg yolk in my ear more than once. Um, but I'll listen for them. So I don't pack anything that's got even a hairline crack. But what Bill was asking is it scratched ink? And so if they lay their egg, there's if you haven't processed a quail hen, they actually have like black by their cloaca when you process them out, so it looks like black. That's their ink sac, and that's what puts the speckles on the eggs as it's coming out the cloaca. And if that ink is wet, it can appear to be cracked, even though it's not. So if they lay an egg that has wet ink on it and it hits that wire, it can create a scratched look or a cracked look. Um, so if they're cracked and you can see that they're cracked, probably a calcium issue. Um, but if it just appears cracked, I'd recommend taking it and just kind of rolling it by your ear gently at first to see if you can hear any type of hairline crack. Um, because that definitely does make a difference. And Bill and I may have actually even seen the same post. There was somebody fussing about how all of the eggs that they received were cracked, and they shared pictures. And in fact, none of the eggs were cracked. It was a scratched ink issue. Um, Smith's Tomb. Where are you at? Where do you live? The network for Quail is thriving. It's doing good. Most people are what I would consider small farmers right now, still working full time jobs, that type of thing. Um, it's a volume game with quail. You've got to have a lot of quail to make a lot of money. I mean, you have a little quail, you can make a little money. Right now, I would say that I am medium sized in the business. I know there are people that Emily and I have roughly the same amount of birds. I know people who have gotten into shipping quail eggs with, just 100 birds. I know people who are in the quail business with 6 to 8,000 birds, and I know people in the quail business with tens of thousands of birds. Um, so I'm nowhere near the tens of thousands of birds. I'm in the 1,500 to 2,000 range right now. I think at one point I had 1,800 birds. Um, right now I'm probably around 1,500, and I would like to be around 3,000 is where I want to be. I think for next year, that's where I need to be. Um, and hopefully, next year will be, just banger, and I'll be able to say, okay, this is where I need to be. This is, yeah, I'm not looking to make, $500,000 a year doing this. I'm looking to make enough money to cover my bills and take care of my kids. That's where I need to be. Um, okay, so you're in West Texas. Yeah, Texas is huge, man. Well, I mean it's a big state anyway. But in terms of the quail market, I ship a lot of quail eggs to Texas, a whole lot, and there's just there's not a lot of people doing it. Um, and that boils back to what Emily and I were talking about earlier. Like, if Emily had all of my orders, she couldn't fill them. If I had all of Emily's orders, I couldn't fill them. If we had all of Aaron's orders, we couldn't fill them. So there's plenty of room in the market for sure for quail. And honestly, I feel like quail are one of the most versatile birds on a homestead. I feel like it's one of the best sources of meat. I feel like it's one of the best sources of eggs. I feel like it's one of the best sources of protein. I feel like it's one of the most self-sustainable sources of protein. I feel like um, as people learn more about quail, they're going to be more interested in quail. Um, and they don't take up a ton of space. For chickens, you got to have space. Um, for quail, you don't have to have a whole lot. So even for like your urban homesteaders, or people that live in apartments or whatever the case is, I feel like there's a lot of opportunity to really build and grow, locally. There just is. And I think the market still remains largely untapped. Let's see. The first place you bought eggs was Button. It's just down the street from a campground you go to. When you saw their address, you realized it was the farm you used as a landmark heading to the campground. Yep, that's it. That's it. Kevin, you haven't missed anything, my friend. We've been waiting for you to get here. You're just gonna have to watch the replay, old buddy. So there's still 20 of you guys in here. Like, I feel like tonight has been like totally like content dense. Like, this has been a great live stream. I feel like we've gone over just a ton of stuff. Um, oh, Shay, welcome, my friend. Yeah, I feel like we've gone over a lot of really valuable stuff tonight. Like, this has been a great live stream. There's a lot of times, like 45 minutes in, I'm like, all right, what do y'all want to talk about? And tonight we're an hour and 23 minutes in, and I feel like we could go for another hour easy. Um, it's been a good live stream. When you bought land, you debated on what animals to work with, and quail ticked all of your boxes. Yeah, yep. So here's the surprise. Um, I've lived in Oklahoma 3.5 years now, and I finally talked my dad into buying a piece of property out here. So long term, um, I'm going to be building on that new piece of property, and I'm totally going to be working on a commercial setup out there. Um, and this is like a 5 year plan, y'all. This isn't a fast thing at all, but I've seen some setups that are like chicken houses with heaters, so that you can do like a brooder setup, and all of the chicks are like on the ground. Gravity feed, bulk feeders, PVC waters, gravity waterers. I'm totally wanting to basically set up a chicken house, so that I can incubate mass quantities of birds. Um, and then so set one up for commercial chick production, and then set up a commercial um, egg production in another chicken barn is kind of what I'm looking at. But we're going to be buying. We close on June 30th, and it's a very large piece of property. So there's going to be a lot of room to grow. Pretty excited about that. Highly recommend Round Lake Farm in Michigan. Heck yeah, I'll look them up. Let's see. Give a fish or teach them to fish. That's what I will do. Heck yeah. Teach them. Teach them. And here's the thing. Like, the, your business is not selling quail eggs, right? Um, People don't have to buy quail eggs from me. They can buy from anybody else. I want to build relationships with my customers. Like, I want my customers to trust me, and I want my customers to believe in me, and I want my customers to have great success when they purchase from me. And if they don't have great success, I want them to know that they can rely on me to fix whatever the problem is. This I'm not selling y'all quail eggs, guys. Like, I'm building friendships, and I'm establishing trust, so that y'all know that y'all can come to me anytime you want to for any reason, right? In all reality, like, Emily doesn't have to come to me with, quail stuff. Emily can say, "Hey, my son's sick. Will you pray for my son?" Yeah, 100%. I will stop what I'm doing and I will pray right then for healing for her son. And that's what it's all about. Y'all can call me anytime you want to, for any reason that you want to. It can be something medical because I'm a paramedic. It can be something quail because I raise quail. It can be something chickens. It can be something goats. It can be something horses. It can be something personal. Like that's really, I'm in a relationship building business. I just happen to sell quail eggs, right? That's, to me, that's what it's all about. And if we can make friendships, and we can, talk to each other and pray for each other, and, come and hang out on YouTube every once in a while together, man, to me, that's totally what it's all about. Let's see. Rustic Prairie Game Birds made it back. You got your first round of eggs from Emily. Heck yeah. Shay, yeah, this has been a great live stream. It's really been wild. Nana, why do you delete your thing? And now I can't respond to you. Let's see. You got your Y roll of vacation feeders and put them on. Got 10 eggs this morning and was the most you've gotten so far. Heck yeah. Fantastic. Hey, and listen, pay attention to the amount of waste with those travel feeders. Seriously, I want your feedback, because those are like the most waste-free feeders I've ever had. I love them. Love them. You, they're not cheap, but those feeders will save you so much money in the long run. Mark says, "What can you put in a pickled egg recipe to get some heat?" Honestly, I've had trouble getting heat on mine too, and I think there's two reasons. I think the vinegar cuts the heat substantially. I just do, which is weird because a lot of your hot sauces are made with vinegar. Um, and the other reason is I eat my eggs so fast that they don't have time to develop the heat. So I think, letting them set for a while is one of the great ways to get some heat to them. And you may want to try something that's oil based. I did a buffalo egg with Primal Kitchen buffalo sauce, and it's made with avocado oil. And I feel like the oil kind of adheres to the eggs a little bit better. Um, but I think really just letting them set is the key. You may try. You can actually cut my recipe with water. 3 cups of vinegar. You can add 3 cups of water, and your acidity level still going to be good. So you may try just adding. Oh, I gotta plug in my computer, y'all. My battery dying. You can try maybe doing 3 cups of water, or excuse me, 3 cups of vinegar and a cup of water, or something like that, and seeing if maybe that doesn't help. Um, it's just something you're going to have to play around with. Um, but yes, they absolutely um, seem to lose some of that heat, and it may help to add something a little bit hotter than say a jalapeno. Maybe add a habanero and see what that does to it. Um, this is beyond exciting. Heck yeah, it is. In fact, you missed this part of the live stream, Shay, but I was talking about, like, I remember the first day I got 10 eggs, and I'm like, yeah, and 20 and 30 and 40 and 50 and 60, and yeah, I mean, I 100% I remember those days. I'd go outside, I'd collect the eggs, and I'd come right back inside, and I'm posting them on Facebook. I've got quail eggs available, guys. Um, and they were selling. It was crazy. So you were selling relationships and experiences. Heck yeah. And, and that's the thing. Like, I offer the memberships on Facebook or on YouTube, and the subscriptions on um, Facebook, and that's for people who want to and are able to help me out. Really, and I throw some perks in there, like the Winola Ranch giveaway and things of that nature. Um, as like a perk. But like all of my videos, they're all free. I mean, you go online and you watch them, and you get content. Some of it you'll enjoy, some of it you won't, some of it's relevant, some of it's not. Some of it's just a day on the farm kind of stuff with me. But even from that, you can gain more and learn more, and it's great. You sorted the Egyptians you got from me today. 21 hens and 5. Holy moly. What kind of a ratio is that? That's killer. 21 hens and 5 roosters. Like, you've got a perfect ratio right there. Like, keep them all. That's great. Is there anyone on here that water glasses quail eggs? Yeah, does anybody water glass quail eggs? I don't. I don't have any eggs to water glass. Like, I literally sold every egg on the farm today. They're like that I need them to lay more so that I have eggs to ship on Friday. I have nothing to sell. Um, but if you water glass, let me know, or let Wild Nana know. I've never tried water glassing, so I couldn't. I mean, I've got the pickling line, but I've never tried to water glass quail eggs. Let's see. Your dad has a small cattle ranch. You bought some acres off of him, so we work around each other all the time. Man, that's great. My dad lives out of state. My parents live out of state. I miss my parents like crazy, but I grew up in Central Florida, and growing up, it was rural, it was country, it was orange groves, and it's totally nothing like the Florida that I grew up in. Like, you can get out on property. We have some friends that own some fairly large ranches and stuff like that, and we can go and get out on the property and stuff. And it's great. It is the old Florida that I remember. But the problem is as soon as you get back on the road, the traffic goes, yeah, not where you grew up. Um, the big city, the bigger town near where I live is called Poto, and it's not a big town by any stretch of the imagination, but it's more along the lines of the Lakeland that I grew up in. It's got a Walmart, it's got a Domino's, it's got a skating rink, things like that. So it's definitely got more of that small town feel that I grew up in. And the older I get, the less, I don't want to say the less I like being around people, because I like people, Um, but the more I want to be out. I want to be in the country, on my land, left alone. You know, just just let me run my farm. Let me raise my kids. Let me believe in God. Let me take care of my family. Like I don't. I just don't want anybody. I want to be left alone. If that makes any sense. And you can't do that when you're just surrounded by people all the time. You can get into your house or you can get onto your property, but every time you leave the house, there's traffic everywhere. There's people everywhere. It's not where I grew up. And so as much as I love it, I am a Florida boy through and through. Somebody sent me a video earlier today, and it was a picture of like an alligator on a front porch, and they're like, the cops were there lassoing the alligator, and uh, they said, "This is why I could never live in Florida." In Florida, we call that a Tuesday. And usually it's not the cops; it's like six good old boys and a 12-pack of Budweiser rounding up that alligator. Um, and that's I grew up with that stuff. It wasn't unusual to see alligators and things like that, but there are things here that like you don't see. In the town I grew up in, you didn't see deer, and I see deer all the time here. You would see rabbits, and you would see squirrel and stuff like that, but mostly it was like raccoons and possums. Um, so I like seeing the deer. I like seeing the hogs and the bear, and all the sort of stuff that you see. Once you get out of the city, and I love the country. But I want my parents to be able to come up here. I want them to have a place to stay when they come. I want to be able to go hunting with my dad. Um, my dad still works. He's not going to retire. Um, so they're there. They're stuck. They're rooted. Um, and there's certainly benefits to living at home. A lot of people know me back home. A lot of people like me back home. I know a lot of people back home. I like a lot of people back home. Out here, I'm just another face in the crowd. But in all reality, that's fine with me. I like being in the country. But I would totally, my dad's my best friend. So I would totally love just to hang out with dad all the time. Like that, we get along really, really well. And my mom is simply just the best. So Shay's sending love and healing out to Emily. Yes, they need it. That poor baby, he's been through so much. Penny, you've been making dog food and cat treats with your eggs? Heck yeah. They're selling like hotcakes out at the farmer's market. Very good. Yesterday you sold out of eggs and pet treats. Wonderful. Terrible that you had to turn 5 customers away, but you get names and phone numbers, and this week you can have those orders filled, right? You came back quick from your. So, hang on a second. Listen, I have not really bounced back all that much. I get tired easy. I'm feeling good, but if y'all don't want to see my surgical incisions, turn your head. But I'll show you the surgical incisions. So let's see. Let me back my camera up. Okay, so there's one. Let's see. I've got 1, 2, 3, and then this one right here, underneath my belly button. Um, you can tell that nobody buys quail eggs because of my incredible physique. But they did the gallbladder. I'm backwards. They did the gallbladder. Let's see, where am I? 1, 2, 3, and then they did the hernia. So uh, it's sore for sure. Um, I'm doing okay. I just get tired really easy. Sorry, I dropped my drink on the floor. I got to get it too. I get tired really easy. Today was the day that I've had the most energy, and the problem is like my mind is obviously sharp. So, I think about, man, I've got to do this and I've got to do this and I've got to do this and I've got to do this. And then I get up and I try and go and do, and it's like, oh yeah, you can't lift that, you can't carry that, you can't move that, you can't do, so that's kind of frustrating. And I'm trying to be good. Like, I totally want to heal up. I don't want to rush this. But I get so tired so quick. Like, it's very, that's unusual for me. As a paramedic, I've worked 24, 48, 72 hour shifts my entire career. Like, sleep is for the weak. I don't need sleep. I can sleep when I'm dead. So this, like, getting tired at 11 o'clock in the morning and needing a nap that's way off the wall, way off the wall. So anyway, sorry y'all had to look at my stomach. That's terrible. They shaved me too. I haven't been shaved on the belly in a long time. So that was weird. Let's see. What feeder? So Winola Ranch sells what they call a travel feeder. It's a large red feeder, hooked on the outside of the cage, and it has little grooves, little slots, so the quail can get their head in, but they can't sling the food out. And it holds about 3 days worth of feed in it. So great, great little feeder. Um, well, Shay, go ahead, order some eggs. That'd be great. Pickled anything needs to sit for the heat to build. Yeah, and so I've got a friend who pickles green beans. They call them dilly beans, and they had some spicy ones, and I ate their dilly beans, and I'm like, how do you get them to hold the heat? And they're like, we just use red pepper flakes, but they let them sit for like 6 months. So that was how. How many different colors of quail are there, and what are the colors? So there's like 54 different colors. And so some of these, and I'm not good with genetics, so Emily may be able to expand on this a little bit, but you've got different genetics involved. So, I sell jumbo brown, jumbo white, jumbo Egyptian, and then I sell a mixed flock of standards that are a whole bunch of different colors. But there's Rosetta, Tibetan, tuxedo, black, um, pearl fee, fab fee, um, Manchurian, Italian, uh, autumn, pansy. There's a whole bunch, and then there's like what they call the pied or splash or whatever. But a lot of the colors are never going to breed true. Okay, so if there's a fancy color, um, and let's call it the pearl fee pansy splash, right? And you've got a pearl fee pansy splash, and it's, we've put this breed together and we've put this color together and we bred these and these, and we had F1s and F3s and F4s and blah 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 blah, and now we've got this pansy fee pearl splash, pearl fee pansy splash, whatever. They lay eggs. You hatch those eggs. You breed those chicks to those birds. They're not going to hatch true. They're going to revert back to whatever the original bird was. Um, so the genetics are, it's complex. I understand genetics. I do not like genetics. Like, I don't care. Like, if I buy, a pied pearl fee pansy splash and I breed it to a pearl fee pansy splash, I don't want to end up with pearl fees and pansies. I want to be able to breed them together and get pearl fee pansy splash. And that just doesn't always happen. It's part of the genetics game. So sometimes to get those pretty colors, the only way you can get those pretty colors is to go to that specific breeder that's creating that specific breed. But there's like 54 different colors. Um, and, you know, uh, I'm so busy with just 3 colors and a party box that it doesn't make sense for me to add more. Jordan was asking me earlier about my celadons. I like celadon eggs. I think they're pretty. I'm trying to grow out a celadon line. If it happens, it happens. And it will. Like I'll have enough celadons eventually. But even celadons, um, you hatch the eggs, the offspring may not lay celadon eggs. You may get standard quail eggs out of them. So there's that. You've been considering making a business page and a channel for your farm. You worry that you're not personable enough. Look, hey, listen, you're somebody's cup of tea, right? I mean, there's a lot of people that don't like me because they say I'm arrogant. Um, that's something I've heard my entire life. It's not that I'm arrogant. I do know my limitations. As an example, I just talked about genetics, and I referred you to somebody else like that. That's not my strength. But to that extent, I do know what I know, and I know that I know it. Like, um, especially in the business world, especially in EMS, especially in leadership. Like I know that I know this stuff, and I've got degrees to prove it. But some people think that I come across as arrogant, and at times I do. If someone wants to argue and they force me to get all academic and smart talking, I will do that. But in all reality, I try my best to be humble and to recognize my own limitations and say, hey, I don't know this stuff. Go to someone else who knows more. Um, and that may turn people off because then maybe I don't seem like an expert. Um, yeah, but I'm not going to sit here and talk about things that I'm not well versed in, and I'm not going to sit here and talk about topics that I'm not interested in because it's my channel. I can talk about what I want to. Um, but you're somebody's cup of tea. Somebody will like your presentation. Somebody will like what you have to say. Some people will like your personality. So go for it. We're everybody is just a little bit different, and some people are going to love you, some people aren't, and that's how life goes. So I say do it. You grew up in a very densely populated area in Texas, now in Colorado in a very rural place with a fraction of the population. You'll never go back. Like Colorado is an absolutely gorgeous state. I did a lot of driving in Colorado. I lived in Nebraska for a little while, and so I drove through Weld County, Colorado, a lot. Drove through Aurora, and there's another area up there that I drove through. I love Colorado; it's beautiful. But the issue that I have with Colorado is similar to like a lot of states like Illinois. Absolutely beautiful, beautiful state, but you've got the entire state controlled by Chicago. You know, Colorado, beautiful state, but the entire state controlled by Denver. Oregon, beautiful, beautiful state controlled by Portland. And it's just unfortunate because you get into and I was talking about this earlier. I talked a little bit about voting. I don't like talking politics because we all have our own opinions and beliefs and whatever. But I think it's sad a lot of times because I can walk down to the end of my street and put eggs out on my farm stand and be like, here, buy my eggs. And in some states, you can't do that because you haven't been certified, you haven't been tested, you hadn't been approved, you hadn't paid your fees, you didn't get your permits, you didn't do this, you didn't do this, you didn't do this. And, in a lot of states, they just make it so restrictive. Oklahoma's, we have rules and regulations here too, but the rules and regulations are not prohibitive. They're inclusive. Yes, you're welcome to sell your products, just register with the state so that we know you're doing it, so that your customers have a way to look you up online if they need to, type of thing. Not a, you can sell your stuff as long as you pay the state, you know. So Colorado's gorgeous though. Gorgeous, gorgeous. And I've lived in a lot of places. Misty had a lot of anxiety, so we moved a lot because it made her feel better. So I've lived in a lot of places, and I got to tell you, man, there's just wonderful people all across this country. Wonderful, wonderful people all across this country. It's just sad that we vote people into office that are, more concerned with themselves or with profiteering than they are, taking care of the people that they've been elected to take care of. So your population is down 60% and getting roomier every day. Yeah, they all moved to Florida, Bill. You can tell it's fall in Florida because all the license plates change colors. No, I would. You're in Flint, Michigan. I would love to live like in the Upper Peninsula. It would just shorten my shipping season dramatically. But I like cold weather. I like the snow a lot. Um, that wouldn't bother me at all. You like it on the farm. You liked it on the farm as a late teenager. To see a neighbor, you'd have to stand in the road, stand on the roof in the winter. Oh yeah, heck yeah, that would be great. Let's see, Reese's rules. Heck yeah, you have the same scars plus. Oh, hang on, comment disappeared. You have the same scars plus a stem to stern because you went septic and they had to do an emergency surgery. Oh, that's not good at all. Sepsis is bad stuff. Sepsis, like once you progress into septic shock, like the mortality rate on that is astronomical. So I'm glad you survived that. That's tough. Wild Nana, you had a follow up appointment today and got to stop oxygen. Good. Still can't lift more than 5 pounds, so you know how I feel. Yeah. Up and walk in 10 minutes to listen. Do it. Stick with it, man. So many people that I see as a paramedic could be in good shape. They just don't take care of themselves, and it's awful to see that they could be in great shape, but they don't get up and exercise. If you said you got off oxygen, if you've got that little spirometer that you breathe into, use it. Get up and walk. Build your strength because so many people have the ability to recover. They just won't. Like I I mean, I had surgery on Friday, and by Saturday, I'm sitting here going, "How in the world can people just stay in bed? That's awful. I don't like it." Now you have too many hernias to count. Oh yeah, yep. With a surgery like that, absolutely. Mine was kind of more elective. It was just like the longer I had it, the more it started to bother me. And I like to take care of things before they become a problem. It wasn't really a problem before. Like, I could feel my stomach and tell it was there, but it didn't really hurt. But over the years, it had started to get into where it hurt. And I want to be able to do sit ups. As you saw, I need to do sit ups. I'm starting to get fluffy. So I want to be able to do sit ups and, exercise more and stuff like that. And so even like lifting and, doing a bench press, you use your abdomen, and it got to like where I would sneeze and like it would hurt, so if sneezing is hurting my stomach, then probably time to get it taken care of. You know what I mean? Definitely want to get back in shape. Let's see. You're definitely not the personality for a lot of people. I'm hoping to make a page and share. So, one of the things you might try, Shay, is there's a lot of ways that you can reach people. A lot of people like the short form stuff. So you can just record, a 60-second, 90-second video of, hey, this is what I'm doing today, and post that. And that limits kind of like that back and forth communication. Some people don't do back and forth communication very well. But that's a great way and I've met a lot of social media content creators and stuff like that. And you think, wow, this person's got a great personality, and you meet them in person, you meet them in person and you're like, their personality is not all that great, Um, they're nice, but not what you would expect. So you can still you can still share like short videos and stuff like that, and that'll be great. So John, you got to run. Hey man, thanks for sticking in there. This has been a long live stream. Holy cow, y'all! Almost 2 hours. That's crazy. Why aren't y'all still here? That's great. Let's see. Recessive gene breeding is a pain, at least in reptiles. Yep. You tried watching Ali at Maine Confetti Quail explain genetics, zoom right over your head. Yeah. I get it. I just don't care. Maybe that's a bad thing to say. You know, it's kind of like when I go to hatch an egg, I just want the bird to hatch and I want it to be what it's supposed to be. I don't really care about the mixing and all of that. Let's see. Do, 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 do. Do, do, do. How are you set on Egyptians? I need as many Egyptians as I can get. They're selling really really well. My birds are great. They're big, um, but I've been selling so many Egyptians that like I shipped Bill some Egyptians today. Bill took every egg I have, so like I don't have any eggs to set for myself. So I mean I can always use more Egyptians. Michigan is extremely restrictive. And, again, Michigan's one of those states. It's a beautiful state. It's a great state, but it's controlled by, just a couple of cities. And, you know, such a beautiful, beautiful state. Um, Lots of rural areas, but controlled by, a few densely populated cities. You know, um, it's controlled by Detroit. It's controlled by Lansing, you know. And there have been lots of problems. I mean, with the water issue in Flint and the automotive industry exodus, which goes back to some politics stuff that I don't want to get into. But the auto industry had a mass exodus from Detroit. The steel industry, mass exodus for a variety of reasons. Again, a lot of it's politics and money. But you thought Texas was going to be worse for selling stuff, but it's not as bad. Texas is weird. Like, they talk about Texas being like a free state and this, that, and the other, but uh, yeah, you can save money in a lot of areas in Texas, but there's like they kind of get you on some weird stuff. Like you've got to do vehicle emissions inspections in Texas. You got to have a front license plate in Texas. When you register vehicles in Texas, it's a mess. Um, Hang on one second. Uh, so Texas has like some kind of weird, like almost things like you would expect in California or whatever. Because I know California does vehicle emissions inspections. They did. I lived in California for a couple of years in my 20s, and so Texas has some kind of weird things, and in certain areas they can be pretty restrictive. But in other areas, Texas is like, do whatever you want. So Texas is not too bad. Oklahoma, by far. I lived in Indiana. Indiana's pretty good too. Indiana's not very restrictive on things. Um, they were pretty easy to deal with, but Oklahoma by far, has been the easiest to deal with. So, Mary, listen, thank you for joining. I appreciate you being here. I appreciate you sitting here listening to me. I can't believe we've been talking for 2 hours. This is crazy. Um, Florida, Michigan's Lower Peninsula. That's a fact. That's awesome. Let's see. You went to college in the Upper Peninsula. Grace. Listen, if I could find, some land in the woods in the Upper Peninsula here and just live off the land, I would do that. I would just need starlings to sell eggs. Let's see. 38 parts per million lead and 400 parts per million copper. I don't know what the limit's supposed to be, but that sounds kind of a lot. Pure Michigan. Grew up in Beulah, Michigan, then went to college in Traverse City and eventually moved to Grand Rapids before moving to Florida and joining the military. Went back a few years ago. It's changed. Yeah, Michigan's a beautiful state. Um, but like everything I know about Michigan is, all the rural stuff, the rural areas. But I grew up in Lakeland, Florida, which is where the Detroit Tigers do spring training. So I grew up watching spring training games of the Detroit Tigers as a kid. So the Tigers are my number 2 favorite baseball team, even though they're not doing so good. The chair. Oh, y'all are bonding. Hang on a minute here. Reese and Bill both talking about the cherry pit. That's great. Your mom has been hospitalized 5 times this year. Put her in a rehab facility so she could get her strength back, but she was so horrible. The staff. She didn't behave. I've taken a few of those. I can tell you that out of nursing homes. Well, make sure that she's doing whatever exercises and stuff she can at home. I'm just glad you're feeling better and hanging out with us. It's passing time. Listen, this is a great way to pass time. I get to hang out with 30 of my closest friends. That's all that matters. Let's see. Oregon is a political control state. Yep, one reason why you left. Yeah, it's just people just need to be nice. I don't know how else to put it. Let's see. Victoria, hello, darling. Glad you could make it. Texas was a lot more controlling on 2A than you expected. They're coming around slowly. Well, glad you could make it. Yeah, Oklahoma is not very restrictive on 2A. In fact, when you're born, you get a birth certificate and a Colt 1911 in Oklahoma. It's pretty fantastic. So we have open carry, constitutional carry, whatever here. Most people still don't open carry. Some people do. Usually, like if it's like an outdoor community type of event, you'll see a lot of people open carrying. But it's like everybody is, so it's not really that big of a deal. But the states that I've lived in that have like open carry or constitutional carry or whatever, it just seems like we don't have a lot of problems, which is great, but I think most people concealed carry. um, I conceal, I don't just walk around with a pistol on my hip. Like I said, if there's a community event and everybody's kind of open carry, we have people who open carry out at the poultry swap. Not a big deal. Nobody cares. Nobody pays any attention. Um, you know, but I promise you, for every one pistol you see, there's 10 that you don't. So let's see. Flew in from Whitman Air Force Base today to visit the family. Heck yeah, good. You tried being retired in Bonifay. Way too hot. My favorite campground is in Geneva, Alabama. My grandma's from Bonifay, or my grandpa. I'd have to ask my mom. I think it's my grandma that's originally from Bonifay. I think my mom's dad was originally from Alabama. But Bonifay's a pretty area. And my thing with Florida is I did get tired of being hot, and it's not like the heat doesn't bother me. We get triple digits here. Um, it's the being hot all the time. Um, like in Florida at Christmas time, people wrap their palm trees in lights. I've opened Christmas presents at 84-degree weather. So you had to save your cat from an owl. Sounds like an adventure. I wish you'd have had that on tape. That'd have been awesome. Got to get up, take care of your reptiles. Yeah, go back and catch the first half of this later, because it's been good. Reese's, have a good night. Texas went open carry in 2020, and most still don't. Yeah, you got a few people that'll open carry. It doesn't bother me. I don't know that it's the wisest thing to do. Like as a general rule, like generally speaking, I don't necessarily know that you need to open carry. Like I said, I will, when there's, community events and, everybody's out and everybody's kind of, open carry type of thing. Um, it also seems to differ town to town. Like in Indiana, everybody open carried. Like you just open carried, and that was kind of how that was. In Here, even though it's small town, small community, and you can open carry, most people still don't. Um, you know, I don't care one way or the other. I like that other people open carry because then I know who who else has my back if the crap hits the fan. Um, but on the other hand, you lose that element of surprise too, um, if need be. But again, like I've been a paramedic for 20 years, almost 19 years now, and I've been in some pretty hairy situations, in life. I've had guns pulled on me, I've had knives pulled on me, stuff like that. But even in my line of work, when people call me to these, really bad situations, um, I've never been in a situation where I needed a firearm. You know, um, by the time on in the few occasions where I've actually had a gun pulled on me, by the time I realized that a gun was being pulled on me, um, either a I was able to diffuse the situation, get between the person and the firearm, um, or I've been able to bail out of the situation and avoid it altogether. So I like being able to protect myself. I like being able to protect my family. But the fact of the matter is 99.99999% of the time you're going to be able to bail without needing a firearm. You know what I mean? Um, so, and of course, just because you have the right to carry one doesn't mean you have the right to use it. And I've seen people who've used firearms, thought they were totally in the right, and they've ended up going to jail because they were in the wrong. So, you got to be careful with that sort of stuff. You gotta have some common sense if you're going to carry a firearm. Milton, Florida had 4 seasons last year. Yeah, that was the first. I remember for a period of time last year, North Florida had more snow than Alaska, which was crazy. But I think that was the first time it had snowed like that in like over 30 years. I know in Florida, in Central Florida where I grew up, it snowed like in 1979, and it hasn't snowed there since. So you open carry when you're working cattle, yeah, and I open carry when I'm hunting, because I want quick and easy access to my sidearm if I need to shoot something that's snuck up on me, either a cat or a snake or a hog or something like that. I want to have quick access um, to draw. So I'll carry a sidearm and a rifle or something when I'm shooting, um, when I'm hunting. So but your rifle you keep slung over your back, and a lot of times I don't even travel with a loaded rifle just because if I trip or fall or something like that, I don't want to have a loaded rifle right next to my head. you know so I'll carry a sidearm when I'm hunting in open carry. You conceal carry, that's why you like Florida better than New York. Yeah, absolutely. The laws are much easier to deal with in Florida, and Florida I think just went permitless carry. I don't know the specifics behind that. I don't have to because I don't live there anymore. You've been shot at working in real estate appraisal. Had a gun to your face surveying. The guy brought you donuts the next day after 6 federal agencies visited him that evening. Oh, mighty nice of him to bring you donuts. Mighty ugly of him to pull a gun. You think open carry controls the riffraff a little bit? I think so too. But I was at a rodeo one time and I saw this lady open carry, and she had it tucked in the back of her waistband, and she wasn't paying a lick of attention, to anything, like to her surroundings, to nothing. She was up on the fence and bent over and filming her kid running, and anybody could have walked and just pulled the gun right out of her waistband. Nobody did, but it was like, lady, put it away. You're not paying any attention to what you're doing, or to where your firearm is, or to who is around you, or like, she wasn't paying attention to nothing, and someone could have took that gun from her and popped her in the back of the skull before she could have turned around. So, if you're going to open carry, there's definitely a level of responsibility that goes from that. You had a friend die climbing a fence with a loaded shotgun. Yeah, my dad's best friend had a rifle in his truck, and the rifle fell off the rack and shot him in the head. And his friend actually survived, was wheelchair bound, but survived. Um, but nonetheless, the gun just he wasn't even doing anything. Like, he hard braked and rifle just fell off the gun rack, but it was loaded. So, you know, you got to be careful, and that's why a lot of times when I hunt, I don't walk with a loaded rifle or a loaded shotgun or something like that. If I'm carrying it in my hand, that's one thing, because if you start to fall, you can toss it. Um, but if you're carrying a rifle, you've got a strap over your shoulder and you're carrying a rifle and it goes off. I mean, like, you can like be real hurt just by a simple mistake. So, again, there's responsibility that goes along with it, and common sense, which, I think for the most part, the people that I know that own firearms, that carry firearms, they tend to be more responsible, generally speaking. That's the people I know. That's my experience. That's not, but I know people that say, I'm not going to carry a gun. I don't have the temper or disposition to carry a gun. Like, I get mad too easy. You know, if I had it, I might use it. So I'm just not going to carry it. And I think that's smart too. I think that's wise. So, all right, guys, listen to me. We have set a world record for me. We have been live stream for 2 hours and 15 minutes. That's a long time. And it has been great. You guys have been wonderful. We have talked about a lot of stuff, and I have enjoyed it. But it's getting late. I don't know what time it is. Let's see. Eastern time zone. It is now after 11 o'clock. It is 10:15 here. So God bless you guys. Thanks for joining in. As always, if you need anything, holler. We've talked about everything from pickling eggs to hatching eggs to the Second Amendment. You know, fantastic. What a live stream. You guys are just the best. So God bless you guys. Have a great night. Thank you for all the prayers. We'll get back to live stream again probably this weekend. And if you need anything between now and then, shoot me a message, give me a call, shoot me a text, whatever the case. God bless you guys. We will see you next time.